you joining us, where we just worked out a little technical difficulty, so thank you so much for joining us. My name is Shelley Rude-Warnick. I'm the director at JFNA's Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care, and we have several members of our team who are here with us today. We have Amanda Jarvis and Leah Bergen, who you will hear from later on in this webinar. But before we even take another step further, I wanted to give you our sincerest, heartiest thank you for joining this review committee. You are one of 43, I believe, esteemed colleagues who have volunteered your time and dedication to help us select and find the very best and most innovative programs for Holocaust survivors. We could not be more pleased and grateful that you have decided to give your time to this effort. We hope that you'll find it a meaningful and rewarding experience to you, and if any point in this process over the next several weeks you have any questions at all or need any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we would be glad to help you help us. So without any further introductions, I will go over how this call will go. First of all, it is being recorded, so if we speak quickly or if there's something else that you want to go back to, you'll have that opportunity because we'll send out the recording. We're going to go over a little bit of the goals of what our work is, of the Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care, and of your role specifically in this review process. And then we'll go over some technical pointers on how you'll actually complete the reviews technically, as well as content, certain things to look for, and things of that nature. And we absolutely want to take your questions. You'll see a chat function in the webinar interface that you're looking at. Please go ahead and type in your questions, and we'll make sure to answer them, not necessarily as soon as you send the questions in, because that answer might be later on in the presentation, but we want to make sure to answer all of those questions during this webinar. Does anyone have any questions right off the bat before we continue? Okay. So just a little bit of background. The JFNA Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care is an entity within the Jewish Federations of North America. For those of you new to JFNA world, Jewish Federations of North America, we are an umbrella system for 150 or so federations throughout North America, and with several hundred more smaller network communities that raise money to fund local programming that helps all sorts of vulnerable populations. And our Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care works with philanthropists and the federal government in order to help develop innovative models of person-centered, trauma-informed care for Holocaust survivors. What we mean by person-centered, trauma-informed care is the notion that it is important to consider that all people may have been impacted by trauma in the past. Holocaust survivors absolutely, we know, have been impacted by trauma in the past, and that trauma can affect the way that we deliver services to a person as they age. And so we have developed, working with the federal government, this model of person-centered, trauma-informed care relating to the uniqueness of a person's experience and recognizing that the trauma may impact various issues of the normal aging process, and care needs to be specialized in order to meet that need. We will be providing additional background information to you so you can read more about what person-centered trauma-informed care is, and I can also refer you to our website, which is www.holocaustsurvivorcare.org for more background on that. Our goal at the Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care is twofold. We promote local innovations in Holocaust survivor care. That is mainly through this grant process. So we award grants to organizations across the United States to develop innovative models of person-centered trauma-informed care. And then our second goal is to share those models. We share them with other organizations that serve Holocaust survivors, as well as other organizations that serve older adults who might not be survivors of the Holocaust, people who might have survived a war, or people who are veterans or who are refugees or maybe survived a natural disaster may also benefit from the models that we are creating. We have included several links. Next slide. We have included several links that will give you additional background in this. Some of the programs which were just shown on the previous slide, are impacting physical health, emotional health, falls prevention. There's all sorts of different education and training programs, accessibility. There's all sorts of different local programs that you'll see in the proposals that you'll be reviewing. And you can find all of the background that you could ever hope for by reading our request for proposals and program guidelines. That's the very first link that you see here. That is the RFP that all of these applicants responded to. So it lists the background, the goals, examples of different types of programs, examples of different ways of demonstrating impact, and you can learn everything that the applicants have learned about when responding to this. It is necessary for you to read that RFP and program guidelines in order for you to have the sufficient background to know how to score these proposals. The second link is a recording that explains that RFP to the applicant. It's a summary of the written RFP. Some people are verbal learners and prefer to learn it that way. The recording is less essential than reading the RFP because the RFP is complete. But if you want additional background, you can listen to that recording. Then the third link is our frequently asked questions sheet. That was developed based on questions that we received from applicants throughout the application process. So there's some additional guidance given to applicants in there. It's a very brief and easy to read sheet. And the fourth link is the guidance that we give to organizations that we currently fund on one specific area, and that is religious activities. We are federally funded, and so we have to be very careful about funding activities that are explicitly religious, and so that is the guidance that we give to sub-grantees. We did screen all of these applications that you're going to be reviewing to make sure that they comply with our basic guidelines, but there might be some parts of an application that don't comply with all of our guidelines, and so that's why we included this, so that you can flag anything like that for us. This concludes the background and overview of what our grant program is all about. I recognize that I spoke very quickly and very briefly, and so it is very important for you to look at our website and that RFP and program guidelines for you to receive the complete information. But I would like for Amanda to walk you through technically how you're going to log into SurveyMonkey Apply, which is the name of our grants management platform, and how you're going to complete the reviews. And again, feel free to type any questions that you have into the chat box.
Hi, my name is Amanda Jarvis. I'm the project assistant for the Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care. And when you get emails from the Holocaust Center email box, they often come from me, so it's nice to say hello verbally. So let's have a quick background on SurveyMonkey Apply. It's a holistic platform for applications and grant management. It's going to allow us to collect applications and scores quicker. We're hoping that it will simplify the review process as it allows reviewers to save their work and return later, which is very helpful. We know that everybody has very busy schedules. And you'll be setting up an individual password, but can then access SurveyMonkey Apply from any computer. So when you receive your invitation via email, you will click Join Now. If you have not received this email, please let us know by emailing holocaustcenter@jewishfederations.org, and I will make sure that that is resent to you. And you have all been invited to join SurveyMonkey Apply, so you should have already gotten this email. But again, please let us know if you did not. Once you receive your invitation and click Join Now, a new page will open asking you to set up your SMA account. It will prompt you to enter your name, your email, and to select a password and confirm it. You'll then get an email confirming your new account, which you will need to go to and click on in order for your account to be fully set up and merged with your email address. When your applications have been assigned shortly, you'll receive an email alert from SMA explaining how to get to your applications and prompting you to go to SMA. Once you're logged into your SMA portal, you'll see the review dashboard that you see on the right side of this screen. And when you're ready to begin reviewing proposals, you click Start, which is a green button on the right. Opening an application. Once you click Start, you'll see the list of applications that have been assigned to you. Click Start next to the application you'd like to review. It will split into a split screen, which we are very excited about because it'll allow you to look at multiple. It will allow you to see your review that you're scoring and the application at the same time. The left side will have the application you're reviewing, and the right side will have the questions that you're answering. And you're going to select your points from the drop-down menu for each question. Printing applications and review forms. If you want to download and print a copy of the application and/or review form so that you can work on it at home or sans internet before logging in to complete this review, feel free to access your SMA portal and click on the ellipses, those 3 dots to the right of the application you want to print. It'll have a drop down and you'll select Download Application and a PDF will be generated. All scores must be submitted via SurveyMonkey Apply. They cannot be sent in physically. So make sure that even if you have it written or typed without internet, please submit it via SMA. Scoring applications. You will be able to scroll each of these sides independently, which will help you review the question and other relevant information. So you can return to different parts. For instance, if you want to return to budget to compare it to the budget narrative later, you can scroll up and down. It will not affect the other side of your This will ensure you don't lose any of the work that you've started. You can always go back to a previous page as needed. Saving scores. JFNA and SMA recommend that you save your scores after each application is reviewed and submit all of your scores at once. This will allow you to ensure that the scores that you've given to each proposal is correct and double check anything that you had questions about. Scores cannot be resubmitted. Reviewing scores. Once you finish reviewing the application, you will see 2 bonus questions. And while these questions do merit bonus points, these points are added later by us at JFNA and will not be added to the total points that you'll see in the end of your review. Submitting final scores. Below the bonus points, you can see the points earned out of the points possible, and you'll see the score expressed as a percentage. For example, if you've assigned somebody, if you've allotted an applicant 200 points out of 300 possible points, you'll see that as a percentage at the bottom. If you are fine with the final score, you can click complete. But if you have any edits to make to your scores, then save your draft and click back to return to previous pages to change anything you want to edit. And once you click Mark as complete, your form will be submitted and cannot have any changes made to it. Completing application review. Once you've submitted your scores, click Return to Assignments, and you'll return to the SMA portal, and it will show you any additional applications you've been assigned. Verifying completion. Once you return to your SMA portal, you will notice that any review you've completed will have a green check mark next to it. This is very helpful and will help you to keep track of applications that you've completed versus applications that you need to go back to and complete. If you have any more applications to review, please select that application and follow all of the steps that we've gone over in the last few slides.
Thank you so much, Amanda. This is Shelley again. I'm going to offer a few tips on the content in terms of what you'll be scoring. The first tip is a lot of reviewers have questions on how to score the budget. We have put a few different fields and formulas into the budget form that the applicants complete. So there shouldn't be too many mistakes in terms of things adding up in the budgets that they've sent you, but you never know. And sometimes still the budgets that the applicants submit don't add up to make complete sense and are not necessarily realistic. So we want you in particular to be looking to see, does the revenue match the expenses? Is the overhead capped at 10%? And again, you'll see these rules in that RFP that we've sent to all of the applicants. Do the amounts that are allocated for the salaries and the activities seem realistic in comparison to the applicant's proposed programming? Will they actually be able to do this on the budget that they have described? And our grants that we give out are, they are 2-year grants, with the first year at 100% funding, and then the second year at 50% funding. That point, that is by design, so that we want to, because we want to encourage sustainability and we want to encourage additional fundraising for the applicants. But sometimes applicants have a different design, and they want to either decrease their activities in the second year or wind down. And what you want to look for in the budget is just to make sure that with the budget decrease, that the proposed activities are still going to be possible in that. So those are just some tips on things to look for in scoring the budget. And again, you'll find even more tips in our RFP and program guidelines. The back of that RFP and program guidelines, the end part of it, has sections on guidance for the applicants on how to complete the budget and the budget narrative. So please read that, because that will give you further insight into what you should be looking for. And it is important to note that you will not, as a reviewer, you will not have the opportunity to go back to the applicant to ask questions of them. So everything that they have described needs to be made apparent in their application for you to understand it. You should not need to do any additional outside research on the organization. You don't need to be looking at their website. You can if you want to, but you should not need to. Everything that you need to know about these proposals should be stated clearly in the applications. The onus is on the applicants to make the case. Another tip that I wanted to mention is that different proposals are worth a different number of total points possible, depending on the application type. This is not something that you need to worry about or calculate. We've done it for you, and it is described further in that RFP that I keep mentioning. So please take a look at that. But that's the point of why we gave each application a percentage score. It's to be able to normalize, so you can understand what the score is that you've given them in relation to other applications. So there's an application that might be worth more points than another one, but if they earn more points, then that percentage would end up being the same. And applications that are worth more points is because they have additional elements and additional questions that they needed to ask depending on what that program is. Again, you don't need to worry about, did they answer the right additional questions? Those formulas are already calculated into the scoring interface. But it does explain why different proposals are worth a different number of points. I'll just give an example of that. If there's an application that proposes a partnership with another organization, they'll need to answer questions about that partnership, such as, have all partners agreed to this? What will the partnership look like? Have you thought about communication among partners? They'll need to answer those questions, and so those questions are awarded points. But if it's not a partnership application, then they won't need to answer those questions, and therefore that proposal won't have additional points allocated for those additional questions. So once you see the final scores, go back one. Once you see, nope, yeah, that one. Once you see the scores, and this is, again, after you've saved all your work but not submitted, so save all your work, you can kind of get a sense of how we expect things to fall. Now there are additional processes after you're done scoring. We have the panel phone calls, and then we have additional discussions to make sure that it's the right the right mix and diversity of applications. But for the most part, this rubric that you see in the slide, this scale is how funding has shaken out in the past. A 90 to 100 is an excellent application. It means that it is worthy of consideration for full funding. There is a stage 2 process that the review committee is not involved in, but that we at JF&A are involved in with the applicants. So there might be some points that they need to adjust in their proposal in order for it to fit the available funding, because not all applications will receive funding at the highest levels. And there might also need to be adjustments made to the programming to make sure that all aspects of the programming comply. Moving down the scale, an 80 to an 89% is a very good application. It is likely to be funded. That depends on the number of applications that we receive in that group. And there might be some gaps or concerns that the applicant needs to address in stage 2. A 70 to 79% is a good application. It might be funded if concerns are addressed in stage 2, but really that depends on the amount of funding available and the mix that is needed to produce a diverse cohort. Anything below that is unlikely to be funded. A 60 to 69% might be funded if there are certain parts of the application that would be helpful to the cohort of applicants, but unlikely to be funded and would need major changes in stage 2. And anything below a 59% is very unlikely to receive funding through this process. A quick overview of the timeline. I know that you've got some of these dates already in the invitation that you received to be a reviewer. We first need to find out if there are any conflicts of interest with the proposals that you've been assigned. So yesterday, you should have received an email from Holocaust Center at jewishfederations.org. In that long email, there is a link to a JOT form. The link in that JOT form, if you click on it, that will reveal to you the proposals that you've been assigned. So each of you has a different link, so don't try to send it to somebody else because it won't be appropriate for them. But click on that link in JOT form. You'll see the list of proposals that you've been tentatively assigned, and there will be a checkbox for you to check to verify that you don't have any conflicts of interest or prior preconceived notions about that application. And if you do have a conflict of interest, then we'll work to reassign you to a different panel. So it is very important for you to go and look at that as soon as possible. Let us know about those conflicts because we do have a big LSAT logic problem of trying to figure out who goes on what committee based on the conflict. Conflicts. So thank you so much for your prompt attention to that JOT form link. When we resolve these conflicts, most likely we'll send you an email with new assignments, not through JOT form, to ask if you have any conflicts with those ones. And so we appreciate, again, your very prompt reply to that email so that we can get all of the applications assigned. We can't send you the applications until they're finalized and all of the conflicts for this entire review committee have been resolved. You can register for SurveyMonkey Apply right away. Amanda mentioned that an email was sent out to you from SurveyMonkey Apply. The email in the subject line would have come from JF&A's Center for Advancing Holocaust Survivor Care, and the exact email address is noreply@smareply.io. So please go ahead and check your inboxes or your spam filters to make sure that you have that email that came directly from the website, from SurveyMonkey Apply. That's the link that you'll need to register to get into the system. If you can't find it or need us to resend it, please contact us so that we can get you registered. Registering through the system is the way that you will be able to access the actual application. Please save your password and your email that you use to log on, and that's the password that you'll use to log on each time you want to work on this. Over the next couple weeks, we will be reaching out to you with a doodle poll to schedule that conference call that I referred to earlier. You'll be on one panel conference call. It will be between the dates of October 10th through 18th. The call will last no more than 2 hours, probably more like an hour and a half, but please budget 2 hours for the call and respond to that doodle poll so that we can find a time that works for your entire panel. The deadline for submitting proposal scores is October 4th at noon. And then we will tally the scores and have our panel conference calls. Before the panel conference call, you will be able to see the scores that other review committee members have given it. So you'll have that background going into the call. And this concludes the content of our presentation. We know there must be many questions, and we look forward to addressing them.
Hi, this is Amanda Jarvis again. We got a couple of different questions. One is, will the PowerPoint be available as a reference resource? Yes, we will absolutely have this available. We will send it out and make it available to you promptly. Another question was, let me find the chat. Are you providing scoring guidance? What content are you specifically looking for? That was in this PowerPoint, which again will be made available to you. And if you're looking for any further guidance, please email us and we will connect you.
And I'll add to that, for each question, in case you're asking about guidance on each individual question, each one is worth a different number of points. And you'll see this in the RFP as well. You'll see how many points each one is worth. There's a scroll bar for you to scroll down and select the number of points that you want to give to that question. So the fewer number of points, if you give something a 1, then that is a worse score than if you were to give something a 5. The scale goes from worst to best, least number of points to highest number of points. If it is a 10-point question, and you'll see it very clearly in the question, then a score of a 1 would be the worst and a score of a 10 would be the best. So if you can allocate your scores accordingly. And the questions that you'll see are broken down into very, very small sections and small details. That's what Amanda was referring to when she said you'll see the question and the answer side by side. This is not the type of application where we ask for a 10-page application and you have to go and hunt through 10 pages to find the answer to the one question about partnerships or the one question about innovation. The questions are very brief and direct, and the answers should also be brief and direct, and you'll be able to see those questions and answers side by side. So we have eliminated all of the need for hunting through pages and pages of information for you. The answer should be right next to the question. Hopefully that provides more guidance on how you'll score it.
I don't see any other questions, but we'll give you a couple of minutes. So if you have any further questions for us to answer on this webinar, please either submit it to the Q&A or to the chat, and we will answer them as we get them.
A little bit of background information. Many reviewers ask us what types of applications have been funded in the past, about how many applications get funded. Oh, we do have another question. Let me just finish my thought here. We get a whole range of different types of applications. Some of them have gone through our program and been funded in the past, so they'll be applying again, and some of them are new to us. I think in the past we've been able to fund about half the applications that have come in, and certainly not at the full level amount. But really, we don't have a set number that we're looking to fund this time. It really depends on the quality of the applications that we receive. So while you will only be reviewing 3 to 4 proposals each, those scores will, of course, be compared with all of the applications that we received in totality. So another question did come in. Should we try to score relative to the other applications in our queue? This is a difficult question to answer. Each application should stand on its own, and they should be able to answer each question, and you should score them accordingly. We recognize that you'll have a stack of 3 or 4 of these that you review, and by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th one, you might have realized, oh, look at this, I'm grading a lot harder for this last one than I did on the first one, or vice versa. You might notice that you may have changed the way that you interpret how you're scoring them. for that very reason, that's why we don't want you to mark as complete anything until you've scored all of them. So save your work for each application, score everything, save it all. Don't submit anything until you've read all of them and scored all of them, because you might notice some adjustments that you need to make. So while you're not comparing the applications to each other, you are comparing how you interpret your scoring of the applications to each other. And that's why we want you to save your work, do not submit until the end, look at that guidance on scoring, that 90 to 100, 80 to 89 scale that we've got here in this PowerPoint, and submit when you're done, when you feel like you've accurately and fairly judged each of these applications.
One pro tip that we encourage you to do is to take lots of notes. We know that sometimes after you score an application that it's easy to forget it, especially after you read 2 or 3 more. And then there's a break between when you score it and when you have your panel call. This will help you prepare for the panel call so you can remember the details of why you gave a specific score that you did.
And there's also comment boxes after many of the questions, so feel free to insert any qualitative comments that you have to explain your score, and that will also help us understand what's behind your score, and it will help you when you have those panel phone calls at the end. Thank you, that's a good tip. Are there other questions that came in?
No.
Other questions? On average, we've heard that it takes about 2 hours to score each proposal. That's an average. For some people, it takes more time. For some people, it takes less time. This is a new scoring tool that we have. SurveyMonkey Apply is new for us, so we're learning as we go. We don't know if it will save time or cost time. The goal is to save time, so we think that it will save time, and that's why we've gone this route. But the average is about 2 hours per proposal. Certainly, you need to dedicate some time to review that RFP and program guidelines that I keep referring back to. But that's what we've been told is the amount of time it takes in the past. And we definitely encourage you to start early. Don't wait till the last minute to submit these scores. If you need technical assistance, there is a way for you to get tech support through SurveyMonkey Apply. There's a little button that's got a little I, a lowercase I, and if you click on that, you can actually email tech support for SurveyMonkey Apply, and they can answer your technical questions. Of course, for content-related questions, please write to us directly, and we will help you with those content-related questions. But if there are technical questions, please write to SurveyMonkey Apply, and they should get back to you within an hour. We really encourage you, again, to start early, get all of your technical questions answered. It makes life very difficult for us if we don't have everything at the same time and by the deadline. So even if you've done all the work and there are still technical questions left for you to submit, please make sure you do that ahead of time to get everything into us by that deadline. If there are no further questions on the webinar, we will go ahead and end it. We, of course, will send out the recording and the PowerPoints to you. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. The main email address, holocaustcenter@jewishfederations.org, is an email address that goes to all of us here on the team, so we can get back to you most quickly if you email that box. But if you want to email any of us directly, you may do so as well. I think you have all of our email addresses from the many invitations that we sent you to join this committee. And again, we thank you so much for joining this committee. I am always humbled by the caliber of volunteers that we get. We have people who have worked in trauma-informed care, in refugee resettlement, in Holocaust survivor services, programming, planning, implementation, people who are influencers at many different areas of trauma-informed care, people who are funders of older adult services. We're just really pleased and touched that you're willing to dedicate your time to this important process. We look forward to working with you, and please, again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.